Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dark Knight Rider Games channel here on YouTube. Of course, today we are doing my review of 007 First Light. So before we do get started, I want to let everyone know, if you haven't checked out my gameplay videos of 007 First Light, they are finally all 15 are officially live on my YouTube channel now, so you can go check them out and enjoy the content that I've provided for this game. I enjoyed playing it, and I also enjoyed making the videos for it. So with that being said, I hope everyone enjoys this review as well. I want to say 007 First Light has been a great experience. I had different thoughts and opinions on the game based off the trailers before playing it. I had some critical thoughts about it. I didn't like the idea of a young Bond because, I've always been, I feel like Bond needs to be that seasoned agent, in my opinion. But after my experience with this game, I have changed my mind about how they did the approach for this. But I will explain a little bit more about this. But I also want to say this: physical media is important. If you don't like physical media, you'd rather go digital, that's your choice. I have no problem with people that like digital games, but physical needs to stay, in my opinion, hands down. I honestly feel like it needs to be an option for players who love to collect physical games. Obviously, with this one, the full game ain't actually on the disc. We found that out during launch when people got their hands on this game. But, it is what it is. People like having physical products to be able to own and put on their shelf to showcase, right? So it's important to keep physical games going, right? So 007 First Light, when I first started playing it, I went in with low expectations based off of my critical thoughts about all the things with this going into this. I decided to take all the negative thoughts and throw it out the door and sit and enjoy the game. And I tell you what, at first, I will say when it starts out, Bond's very weak. And I did have some critical thoughts on that at first. But as the game progressed, the story progressed, I started liking it even more. I felt like it did have a good story to it. And it was a really good Bond adventure. And especially for a first game, I felt like it did a really good job on that. Now, granted, a lot of people have mixed feelings about the fact that M is a woman and she's bossy, but M was a woman in Pierce Brosnan's Bond films, and of course with the earlier Daniel Craig films, right? And she was bossy too, so I don't see no problem with that. It's been a thing for a long time, so it doesn't really bother me that much about that. Now, I will say I feel like we should have had more freedom when it came to like going guns blazing. Like if you ever felt like wanting to, as Bond, pull out your weapon and start firing, I felt like you should have been able to do that. But obviously I get why they did that. It's because, Bond doesn't have his 00 status yet. I feel like when Bond has his 00 status, he can actually initiate license to kill whenever he feels like it. But in this, it was like you have to do it when it tells you can, right? And I understand that this is a Bond origin, and that's what they were trying to do with this. That was one thing I had a critical thought about with the game. Another thing that I wish we got to do a lot more with in the game was the Valhalla. When they advertised the Valhalla with all the gadgets and everything, I thought this was going to be awesome. We were going to get to drive it, doing like a major chase sequence and get to fire the machine guns on it and rockets and do all the oil slick and whatever else it would have. I thought we were going to be able to do that. Unfortunately, that's not what we got in the game later on. But obviously, we are going to get to experience that in tax sim challenges for the Valhalla. But that was one thing I felt like it needed. I needed a lot more of the car chases and more of the gadgets on the cars. But that's just my opinion on it. But, you know, I had a good experience with it overall. Another thing people complained about with this was it's too much like Hitman. My thought on that is it is not too much like Hitman. There's a difference between Hitman and James Bond. James Bond is over-the-top action, women, car chases, locations, gadgets, right? That's Bond, you know. So Bond has its own difference to it. Hitman has its difference, right? Hitman's more stealthy approach, go in and take out your targets. That's all he does, right? He is kind of similar to Bond a little bit, but he just doesn't have all the gadgets and the cars and all that stuff like Bond does. That's the whole difference between them two. But overall, like I said, I had a good time playing this game. One thing I have a pet peeve about with this game is I hate when it disconnects the online and my Wi-Fi's on, you know, and it will disconnect at times. And I hate when it does that, but, you know, I wish they could work on that stuff. That would be nice. Because when I'm making videos, it would pop up and it would just, you know, intervene with my video. And I don't like when I'm trying to record something and that happens. So there's a little bit of things that I had problems with here and there. The cast was amazing. The actors playing the roles that they had were amazing overall. So I would have to give a score of 9 out of 10. It was a masterpiece in my opinion. Had a good time with it. And I just want to let people know I am not getting paid for this. I bought this game. I played it. You know, I don't get paid to do these reviews. That's just the honest truth about me. I don't have enough subscriber count to even get there, right? So they don't even come to me for, hey, do you want to review our game? I don't get that kind of attention. So I don't make money off of reviews from or get any type of incentive for doing this. So, but I want to end the video with this. Patrick Gibson plays Bond in this, and he does an outstanding job. He has a really great performance as Bond, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to say this directly to Amazon MGM and the people working on Bond 26. You would be mad to not cast him as Bond in the films. And that's just my honest opinion. I think he did a wonderful job. I think the numbers show how well this game did, how his performance did. It just goes to show that he is the perfect person to play Bond, hands down. And that's just what I wanted to say at the end of this video. But also, before I do go, I want to let everybody know, stay tuned. I will have a video here shortly sometime dropping for my live stream I'm doing tonight. So I am doing a live stream for another game we're going to start covering later on. And hopefully, depending on how the weather goes and I don't lose power, we will be doing a live stream tonight. So stay tuned for that. And if I ain't able to do it, I will let you all know. So once again, thank you for watching. Like always, if you enjoy my content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.